$330. That's what you have to pay here in Australia to get the new Dualsense Edge controller. That's a lot of money and in my opinion, too much. So let me make one thing very clear. I'm just saying the controller is way too expensive. I do like the controller.
No, he does not.
I like the controller, Tony, okay? Please, okay. I do like the controller, okay? I really do like it, but $330, that's just way too much because PlayStation 5 on the launch date here in Australia was $750, including one controller. And when we're now looking at the Elite 2 controller from Microsoft, $250. So this is almost $100 more expensive compared to the Elite 2. Why? So I would say we're starting with the good things, what I really do like on the controller, and then we're talking about the things I don't like and why I don't think it's really worth $330. So let's start with the very nice good things. I do like this case here. This is a hard plastic case and this is here you can see the accessories, and this is really a great quality. I do like it, much better than my Elite 1 case actually, but to be honest, I wasn't expecting less because again, $330, you can expect some quality and this is proper quality. In terms of battery lifetime, I was expecting worse, but I was actually surprised because I got almost 8 hours out of the controller with a fully charged controller. And keep in mind, I charged the controller with a USB cable, not with my charging station, because I found my charging station is not charging the controllers to 100%. I already noticed this with the original Dualsense controllers, and I think it will be the same with the new controller. So that's why I used a USB cable. But again, 8 hours for my user case is really good. But maybe if you're a hardcore gamer and you are playing games where the haptic feedback on the controller is heavily used, you will most likely not end up with 8 hours of battery time on the controller. But again, for me, a big surprise, 8 hours, more than enough. The next positive thing on the controller are the thumbsticks, because I really have the feeling that those actually are better than on my standard controller or the original one. But maybe this is just because those are brand new and this one here is already old. But again, I have the feeling, and when I played with this controller Gran Turismo, I had the feeling that I can control the car a little bit better or more precise compared to the original controller. But again, I think this is just maybe because $330 and my mind is messing with me, because I don't think they improved the thumbsticks, or did they? I don't know actually. Put in the comment section if you know something about that, because they're feeling better. So let's talk a little bit more about thumbsticks and stick drift. And in this case, Sony has actually an option, because now we can actually remove. So when you release or when you press this button, you can actually remove this cover here, and then you can unplug or remove the sticks and you can replace it with a brand new one. I'm not quite sure, to be very honest, how I should think about that, because first of all, it's an okay feature, but the problem is it's because of the wrong, how should I say, they're not offering new thumbsticks with different haptic or different resistance from the thumbsticks. They're just offering this because they know they have maybe stick drift, and that's actually, it's a bad feeling, to be very honest. So why do we have this already? Why not just trying to improve the quality from the thumbsticks to avoid stick drift in the future? I don't know. I'm just very, naive right now. Maybe it's not possible, because maybe it's such a fine electronic that you can't avoid such things completely. Then of course it's a good thing, but I still think they should work on the quality to make sure it never happens. And now let's talk about the analog triggers on the new controller, because I really do like them. First of all, they have a nice, I don't know what this actually means. They have this fine details here. Can you please focus here? Can you see this? They're all the PlayStation logos. I don't know how close I can go that my camera can catch this. Can you see this? there are little PlayStation X and squares and whatever. And this actually feels really good because you have more grip compared to the standard controller. But it's just my opinion, okay? It just feels better. But the most important change is actually that you now can change the trigger way actually. Can you see? Here on this one, this is for racing and this is for actually first person shooter. But we have, compared to the Elite controller, we have actually, or Elite 1 controller at least, we have now 3 options actually. So this is quite good, and I was missing this option since day one, because playing with this controller some first person shooters, I really don't like it, because sometimes you have to press, especially with the haptic feedback. I'm not a big fan of this actually in first person shooters, to be very honest. But now we can use this, and I tested this. This is working without any issue, and I just like it. And one more thing what I really like on the controller is the D-pad, because it feels just much better compared to the original one. More responsive, better quality in my opinion. So it makes really fun to navigate through all the menus or whatever, or do some shopping in the online shop. It's just better, and this is great. Unfortunately, I don't have many games where I'm actually using this, but again, navigating through menus, in my opinion, much better than with this one. So let's talk about the pedals here on the back. At least I think that's the name what you actually call them. Actually, pedals. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, those are really great, and I do like the little ones compared to the bigger ones. I don't know why. It's just a personal opinion or feeling or whatever, but we can easily replace this somehow, like this here. It's really fantastic, and they're feeling, but again, I like the smaller one. They're really feeling very high end in my opinion. When you press them, it's just a great feeling actually. Very responsive, and yeah, again, I don't like the big one. I like this one here actually. Don't know why. This is a personal preference, okay? So I like this much better. I have better feelings actually when I'm using those. But again, for games like Gran Turismo, really fantastic, and yeah, high quality in my opinion. And then we have the replaceable caps for the thumbsticks, and I have done this here already with one. This one is the normal one, which I prefer, by the way. And this one is the roundish long version, and you can just replace it quite simple like this here. And then you have the shorter version of this round cap here, or I don't know actually how you call this. And yeah, again, I prefer the normal version. I don't know why, because I have the feeling I have more grip, but this is personal preference. They are quite easy to replace actually. They are not magnetic as the Elite 1 controller. They are really just clicking in, as you can hear, but they are absolutely, there's no problem at all. They're just sticking in and you can start playing. So really great feature for people that actually need this. I don't need this, to be very honest, because again, I prefer this one. And then we have additional buttons called FN buttons here, where you can actually, change between different profiles. And this is really handy, because now we're talking about the software, what is delivered with the Dual Edge controller, but I have to say a couple of words. And the software what you get with the Dual Edge controller is really great, but nothing unique actually. You could have this, if Sony wants you to have it, also on the normal standard controller, because at the end it's just software. I mean, yes, I get it. We have additional buttons like the FN buttons and the rear pads or triggers or whatever you call this. I understand, but in terms of thumbstick calibration, in terms of the trigger calibration or dead zone settings and stuff like that, this is possible on the normal controller as well, but unfortunately not supported by Sony. And before me now talking about things I don't like on the controller, and if you watched very carefully, you noticed that I didn't talk about the buttons so far. But anyway, let's talk about weight first, because there is a difference between the new controller and the standard controller. It's not a big deal, but they are a little bit more heavier, which is not a bad thing, because some people like it. I personally don't, to be very honest, okay? But anyway, that's my personal preference. It's not a big deal. They're just a little bit more heavier, maybe because of the more functions what you have in. And now let's talk about a very bad thing on the controller, and I hope maybe it's just my controller. So put in the comment section if you're facing the same issue, because now we're talking about the buttons here and I don't like them at all, because compared to the standard controller, and we need to keep in mind this one here is fairly old, this one is brand new, but when I'm pressing the buttons I have the feeling there is something not quite right, because it doesn't feel good to me. So sometimes I have the feeling actually it's sticking on the a little bit before I can press it. So I need more force actually to press the buttons compared to this one here. This is just awesome, and this is how I would like it on this controller as well. So not quite sure if this is just with my model here what I have or with my controller, but again I don't like how it feels when I'm pressing the buttons. And again, sometimes I have the feeling that when I'm pressing, and it depends maybe from what angle you're coming, that you stick on the wall or you need a little bit more force and then click, suddenly you can press. So this is a very bad feeling, and yeah, I don't like it. So before we're now talking about the overall quality from the controller, let's talk about the USB cable with this great lock what Sony actually provided. So let's start with the USB cable, which is a standard USB cable and very long actually, because if you're sitting on the couch, of course, you need a long cable. And what Sony did to prevent actually that this cable is removing or falling down very quickly or easily during a match, they have this lock here. So all what you need to do is actually, I'll show you this again. Here we are with this lock. So all what you do is actually you put your cable in and then click. So that's it. And then this just connects as usual. And all what you do is here, you're locking your cable in place, and now there is no way that you can actually by accident lose it. This is a great feature. What I don't like is that this is quite heavy and it's pulling my controller down. I mean, on the table here right now, or in this case, I can put the cable on my table and it's not a big deal. But when I'm playing on my couch, there is no table in front of me. So that means the cable would just pull the controller down all the time, which is not that great, and I don't like it. And now it's time to talk about the overall quality from the controller. 330 Australian dollars, and I'm disappointed. And why I'm disappointed is because of this, because oh, this is very, very bad. This is just, when you hold the controller a little bit firm, and there's not much force needed actually to make this noise. So just to compare, this was $79, okay? Okay, it sounds worse, I agree, but $79. But to be very fair here, we have the Elite 1 controller, and I think I paid $200 back then, or a little bit more. Okay, there's also noise, okay? So no worries about that, but this is a brand new controller, and I was not expecting this, because this was the first thing what I noticed after I unboxed or unpacked it. The first time when I hold it in my hand, I heard this. This is not a good quality. So time to summarize this video. Do I like the controller? Yes. So apart from the buttons, and I mean, this is actually I wouldn't say a deal breaker, but this is very concerning, because I just hope that after some time, maybe they're getting better. I don't know, but let's see. And again, please put in the comment section if you're experiencing the same issues what I have here. But in general, it's just too expensive in my opinion, okay? 330 Australian dollars, that's way too much, because you get for $79 the standard Dualsense controller, which is really, really good. And I'm talking about really, really good compared to the Elite 1 controller. So the Dualsense controller, the standard Dualsense controller, is in my opinion better than the Elite 1 controller. I can't compare it with the Elite 2 controller, but Elite 1 is not as good as the Dualsense controller. And of course now, sorry, we are here. Now this one is of course even better, because it is better, especially when we're talking about the thumbsticks here. This is really great. I like it. Trigger function, perfect. And we even haven't talked about the nice texture here actually on the D-pad here. Sorry, on the pad in the middle. This looks great, huh? So this is really, really cool. So the joystick, the gamepad, the controller in general does make a good impression, but there are also downsides. It's like this bloody noise. I don't like it at all. So please do me the favor, put in the comment section what have you experienced in terms of noise, in terms of buttons, in terms of other bugs, because so far I haven't experienced anything else apart from buttons and noise. But that's actually not bugs, that's actually just very annoying and you can't do anything about it. So I haven't fully played with the controller's function, like software and stuff like that. I fully have to admit that, but I mean, that's just software. I told you already, we can have this on the standard controller as well. There's nothing what prevents us to have this. Just Sony is not allowing us, okay? That's the only reason. But anyway, in terms of software, I have to play with the controller. I have to make up a couple of profiles for different games, and I'm very sure this is a really handy feature, to be very honest. But again, 330 Australian dollars, way too much.